I'm doing fine now and everything, so yeah. I don't think I'm gonna die anytime soon, Anonymous. Like, I'm really fine and everything. Like, honestly, guys, like, this is just kind of like my body type, and like, that it's just kind of like, I'm just kind of like naturally like this and all of that. I am doing okay, guys. I am doing okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is about a YouTuber, and at least where I am now, just personally, like, unless a YouTuber is a predator or has some sort of accusations in that realm, I typically do not do videos on YouTubers because I feel as though even if it's not my intention, the video gets misconstrued as drama. It becomes their supporters versus my supporters, and it's just a whole lot of ugliness and craziness that frankly, I'm too old and tired for. So I want to make it abundantly clear that I am not attacking the subject of today's video, even if she tries to, say that I am. That's not in my heart. This is a very serious topic. Eugenia Cooney. If you don't know who she is a YouTuber and Twitch streamer who actually has been on the internet for kind of a long time. Like, I was actually shocked. I thought she was maybe a little newer, but she's been on the internet for a while. And listen, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Clearly, just by looking at this girl, she is clearly not okay. She is clearly suffering. She's clearly on the brink of death from a very severe eating disorder. I am not here to bash the girl, obviously, for having an eating disorder. Who does that? I'm here to counteract a lot of the really harmful things she has done and put out there on the internet as a result of her eating disorder, and also to talk about my own experience with my eating disorder and how I virtually cured myself of it. I feel like this is a very important topic that plagues a lot of girls, a lot of boys, and that people don't like talking about because it can be so gruesome and uncomfortable. I know for a fact there are going to be people watching this that have an eating disorder ranging from mild to severe, such as Eugenia. And if my information and my story and my experience can help them in any way, that's what I'm here for. So we're gonna get into my own personal story, but let's start with Eugenia. I genuinely don't know how Eugenia is still alive. And this may sound morbid, but Eugenia has been suffering with an eating disorder for years. She has been the topic of conversation on social media just due to how skinny she is. She is walking, talking clickbait. Her thumbnails and her videos show her body just extremely emaciated. She is literally withering away, which, by the way, when you are in recovery from an eating disorder, terms like that in a very sick and twisted and dark way, when you have the disorder and someone tells you you're withering away, it actually makes you happy in a really sick way. So Eugenia, if you're watching this, that is not in a positive way. You are dying. Now, I've been asked to do videos on Eugenia for years now because in a very strange roundabout way, I have not a connection to her, but I guess a proximity to her. One of my best friends in life, Jacqueline Glenn, I was a bridesmaid in her wedding. She actually 5150'd Eugenia.
We had to trick Eugenia into coming to my place so that we could help her. We are the ones that forced her to get help by tricking her, having an intervention, and calling mental health professionals that had her committed.
Unfortunately, since then, Eugenia has regressed even worse. She didn't get the help she properly needed, or she didn't accept the help that she needed, and she's worse than ever. Now, I don't want to get too much into Jacqueline because she's about to have a baby, and I'm so happy for her, and I don't want to do anything that stresses her out or talk about anything that stresses her out. I have her back. I have loyalty to her, and unfortunately, the way in which Eugenia has talked about Jacqueline online and the way in which some people try to portray Jacqueline's attempt to help Eugenia has been very negative, and for that makes me want to go punch people because Jacqueline is an amazing friend and the only person in Eugenia's life who cared enough to help her. So you have the Jacqueline connection, then you have Shane, who did a documentary with Eugenia, basically kind of announcing that she's cured and she's better now and she's on the road to recovery, which was a crock of shit. It was a money grab, and Eugenia was never okay. But the reason why I, for years, avoided talking about Eugenia at all costs was because I was silently suffering with my own eating disorder, and how was I going to be able to talk about her without being a giant fucking hypocrite? Now, while I have the utmost empathy for Eugenia and her eating disorder because of someone who had a less severe form of what she's clearly suffering from, I mean, clearly I never got to the point that she is, just visually. However, my empathy only goes so far because I do feel as though she flaunts her eating disorder. She borders on being pro-Anna, which is, if you don't know what that means, it is pro-anorexia. It's an entire movement. It's sick. And she really sells her eating disorder. She capitalizes on it. And the harm that I can only imagine has been done to the young people in her audience, I can't even. As YouTubers and as social media influencers, even though I hate referring to myself with that phrase, we do sell an image. All of us do. Eugenia has sold the image of bodily decay, starvation, ultra thinness, and self-harm to her young female audience. Here's what I mean by that. Have you ever seen a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer who streams from the back of the room so their entire body can be shown? This is called body tracking. It's a phrase well known in the eating disorder community, and it is when you are showing your body to basically confirm to yourself that you are wasting away. Streamers and YouTubers, when they are live, almost always exclusively film from here up, kind of how I am. They're showing their face and their upper body because they're communicating to their audience. Eugenia constantly makes sure that she's in the back of the room talking to her audience. The majority of her videos are outfit hauls and try-ons where she shows the entirety of her body, and the comments are just lit up with people, you know, criticizing that she's doing that. However, she continues to do it. We are watching someone commit. Now, if you don't believe that Eugenia is actually causing harm to her audience, or at least segments of her audience, I did rant about this on my story the other day, just kind of nonchalantly, and I got a lot of messages on my Instagram from people saying that they were part of her audience and that actually caused them to have body issues. I'm not going to read them all, but I got a ton of messages like this one saying, I've been following her since I was 14, and at that age, I thought her body is perfect, and had an episode, lost 18 kg, and was at my lowest weight of 47 kg. I can't even begin to speak on the damage she might be causing unintentionally. This is really a sad situation which requires intervention. I hope someone close to her will wake up and get her help so she can help young girls overcome their battles instead of validating them. P.S. I'm 23 right now and healthy. Keep preaching what actually matters. Love your ass to death. Love you too. That was one person. Here's another one. When I was 15, I used to cry wishing I looked like that. I'd look her up for thinspo. I'm 23 and far from that now. I got mom belly and could care less, lol. And that's good, but obviously my DMs are a very small microcosm of people who are affected by this within her audience. I don't think we have a ton of crossover, and so, you know, if I'm getting a ton of messages like that, I can only imagine how many people exist within her fan base that are being brought to the brink of eating disorders themselves. So here's the thing. Until Eugenia herself comes to the conclusion that her life is worth saving, that she doesn't have to feel sick all the time, that she doesn't have to be in pain all the time, that she has a problem that she can fix, she's never gonna change it, right? If my girl Jacqueline 5150ing her didn't save her, I'm not quite sure what anyone else can do. The only thing I can do is put out information that I feel is positive and how I cured my eating disorder, in the hopes that people, instead of falling into the trap of following her footsteps, maybe follow mine. Not that I'm a role model or someone you need to be like. Clearly, I'm a hot mess. However, I am proud of myself in that I did overcome my eating disorder. So about a year ago, I did a video talking about my eating disorder on this channel, and it was with Trisha. And I feel as though because her and I's rapport was like silly and we were having a good day and whatever, I didn't properly communicate the seriousness of how bad it got for me and how much it did affect my life in terrible ways. There was a point in 2019 where I was eating every other day. I would literally eat every other day. Monday, don't eat. At least a 36-hour period. Tuesday, you can eat. Thursday, you can't eat. Friday, you can eat. On days where I did eat, I was abusing laxatives, which is so disgusting and so, I'm not gonna say TMI. It's just the right amount of information here because it's real. I was abusing laxatives almost every single day. I was crushing my insides. I was in constant stomach pain from it. I couldn't sleep at night because I would be ingesting all these laxatives, and at 2 in the morning I'd wake up with what felt like contractions. I was about to give birth or something. I was malnourished. I was not okay. It didn't appear that way on my channel here because, like I said, all my videos are from here up, but there are a few images that I did let out during that time that you can really see that I was becoming emaciated. My body got really gross. I lost all my curves and it just was not it. But more so than even just not having an aesthetic that I find pleasing, which is just being like straight up and down on board, like it was also On the inside, it was so dark and I was suffering so badly. I mean, it was at a point where if you wanted to hang out with me, if you were a friend, you needed to give me at least 2 days notice, because I had to either starve myself the day before I saw you for anything, even if it's like going to lunch, going to coffee or something. I had to starve myself the day before, or I had to take laxatives. But more so than any of that physical stuff, it was the mental prison that you're in the midst of an eating disorder. You are really in a mental prison. Intake and outtake as far as food and purging and eating and not eating is on your mind, I would say 24/7, but that doesn't even, it's every minute of every day. It is never not on your mind. It wasn't until one day my mom visited me in LA, saw what I was doing, called me out on it, that I realized, this is so weak. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm literally abusing laxatives. I'm not eating. I'm not loving myself. Like, what kind of weak is this? So on to how I actually fixed this problem. So I did my research on this disease and I discovered that I had to identify my eating disorder voice. Now, does that sound crazy? Does that sound like you have voices in your head, like the devil talking to you, honey? Maybe it does sound crazy, but we all have, when we have an eating disorder, a voice that is separate from our own conscious. No, it is not a literal voice in the sense of like, I hear like a man talking to me in the back or some crazy bitch talking to me. It's literally like the part of you that puts yourself down. And honestly, I feel like you can apply this in a lot of different ways, not just EDs. The part of you that puts yourself down, that makes you feel that you are inadequate, that tells you that you are not beautiful, that you are not worth anything. I forget where I heard it described this way, but someone described it as kind of like that bitchy best frenemy that you have that, you know, is always putting you down, making you feel less than, telling you you don't look good in something, degrading you, but you're still sticking with them because that's your best friend. And you know they're toxic, you know they're bad for you, but you stick with it because you feel like without them, what else? That's how you felt. You get attached to this eating disorder voice and you feel like that is a sense of like having control over your life. For me, it was about control. There are so many aspects of my life that I cannot control. I felt like maybe in a sense it was about like, well, I can't control any of that, but I can control my body. So I had to identify that voice that told me just because I'm going to meet up with my friend at coffee at 12 noon tomorrow means that I have to start starving myself 36 hours before, that I have to take 2 laxatives, maybe 3 because that thing I ate, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, I had to identify that and stop myself. I also had to replace my very unhealthy way of maintaining the body that I wanted, even though looking back, I did not like my body back then. At least I don't now. The version of myself now thinks I looked pretty gross back then. I had to replace that with something healthy. Fitness. I discovered fitness. I always had this weird thing with being trans that I felt like if I like worked out, that I would start looking strong or like not feminine or not cute. And that was such a crock of shit. Once I started telling myself, I'm not going to starve myself today, I'm actually just going to go to the gym. I discovered a gym called Zoo Culture here in Los Angeles. It's full of like crazy like bodybuilders and like very intense people. It's a little bit much, but I started going there and I did start looking strong. I posted these pictures recently out in Malibu. I did some bikini pictures and like honestly, I look strong. I have a little bit of a 2-pack going. My legs look kind of muscular. My arms look toned, but I so much prefer that. I feel like such a bad bitch when I'm healthy and I'm strong and I can work out and I can move things and I can jump and I can kick and I can do all that. I felt so sick when I was starving myself. I was not strong. So for me, the biggest thing was identifying my negative self-talk and calling myself out on it, saying F you to that voice telling me that for me to be pretty or for me to have value, I had to deprive myself of nutrients, deprive myself of things that made me happy. Now, people may say that you can't really compare my eating disorder with that of Eugenia's. And honestly, I feel like you're wrong. I think you can. I think eating disorders can afflict anyone and the level of intensity obviously varies. I was never on my deathbed like Eugenia appears to be. However, I understand the mental prison that you're in when you're in that mode and you're in that eating disorder land. And it's awful. I can only imagine the negative self-talk that Eugenia has in her head. And it's so sad. I feel so bad for her. But I also feel like I have to call her out in the sense that you cannot continue flaunting it like this to your young audience. Like you just can't. The proof is in the pudding. People messaged me. I have no crossover audience. I got messages on messages on messages from people saying that when they were young girls or they were teenagers or they are currently teenagers, that they are negatively impacted by it. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, please don't send any hate to Eugenia. That's not what this is for. That's not what this is about. This is all about love. I love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, not on TikTok because I'm banned. Subscribe to my second channel. I'll put an annotation somewhere on the screen for you to do that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.